All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Giving double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Peace and salutations to the brethren, the Akim out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth in 100% sincerity. And peace and salutations to the few and sincere sisters who believe in this gospel, right? So, I want to entitle this lesson that I'm going into today. Salakia just lighting a couple incense. Salakia, bear with me, right? I want to entitle this lesson The Curses Play About in This Situation as Well, the Jay Morrison scandal, right? So, if any of you brothers or sisters out there, you may be, kind of interested in real estate or, into the real estate investing or, maybe wholesaling or whatever it may be, and especially in the so-called black side of things, if you've ever been into been paying attention to that side of social media, the so-called black real estate side of social media, you've probably heard of the name Jay Morrison. If you haven't, go ahead and look him up on YouTube or, whatever you may feel like doing. But basically, I'm going to just give a short summary of who this guy is. This dude, he started a real estate crowd fund called Tulsa Real Estate Fund, right? And basically, it was a real estate crowd fund promising its investors, so-called black people, Israelites, that if they invest, they can build, rebuild Black Wall Street, build wealth, or it could be a start to rebuilding the black community and things like that. And, he sold the people hard on that part, on that particular thing right there, that, if you invest in the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, this is going to be big and it's going to be, a part of rebuilding the community, right? Well, just a couple years ago, it was being exposed that this dude has a habit of shady business practices, right? Multiple people who he's done business with in the past have come forward and said that, he stole the money from me. He promised me he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he never came through with it, and I gave him this much money and this and that. And, like 2020, 2021, it was a whole big thing about, him and him and how the Tulsa Real Estate Fund was set up. It was set up through the SEC, and I can't remember right now exactly what the SEC stands for, but they regulate public investing here in America or whatever, right? They make regulations for it. And so Tulsa Real Estate Fund was legally set up, right? But when you go deeper into how it was set up, it was not set up in a way to where the people who invested in it were going to benefit from it. And now, the guy, he's having to liquidate the fund, right? Meaning that the fund is probably about to go bankrupt. He's got to sell all of the assets, which another shady thing, right? Because this guy, and you'll see here in this video I'm about to play in a second, but this guy, he raised over $15 million with a total of, I think, about 15,000 investors, right? And if you know anything about real estate, if you really want to make returns, like big returns on real estate, you buy properties like apartment buildings, 32 units and up, right? This guy, he was buying single family houses. I think he bought one apartment complex, but I'm not even sure if that was his, because that wasn't, I remember one time they did a list of his assets and that wasn't even on there, right? Or the assets that was bought by the Tulsa Real Estate Fund and it wasn't even on there, right? But he bought single family houses, which one of them was his own personal residence, as y'all will see in the video. And he bought like a couple 4-family flats, right? Which for $15 million, that's not going to really bring a return of investment to the people who invested in it. But, you know, the point that I'm making is that here in Babylon the Great, this is a part of the curses, right? This is completely a part of the curses, and this is proof that we are not supposed to prosper here in America, because things like this, even when something that's supposed to be good, that's supposed to help the community out, even made by one of our own people, someone of our own people. Here it is. This dude is shiesty. He's scamming. You know, he's using the money for his own personal gain, using the money for his own personal reasons. You know what I'm saying? And it just ain't work out how people were hoping that it was going to work out. So look, let me go ahead and get this scripture real quick, and we're going to get into the video. It's the book of Deuteronomy. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 29, and it says, "And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee," right? And it says, you see, it says, "And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways," right? So even the real Tulsa, the real so-called Black Wall Street, didn't prosper, right? Initially, it was burnt down to the ground. Then after that, you know, it was raised up once again to a certain degree. But then through integration, you know, it kind of just faded out. You know what I'm saying? You know, same thing with the other communities here. We had communities like communities like Black Wall Street all across the country, right? All across America. And it just, they're no longer here. We don't have, and today in 2024, there is no resemblance of what Black Wall Street was, or what Rosewood was, or anything similar like that. There's nothing like that here anymore, right? And there's never going to be that, because we were not meant to prosper here. This was not supposed to be our kingdom, but yet Jake is still trying to make this place our kingdom. Jake is still trying to make a paradise here in Babylon the Great, and it's simply just not going to work out because we're under the curses, right? So let's go ahead and get into this video real quick.
Good evening. Dear Tulsa Real Estate Fund investors, it is with a heavy heart that I must inform you of the imminent closure of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, also known as TREF. Today, the Legacy Center, which is also known as the Black House, was listed for sale. This is the fulcrum that Jay Morrison has been avoiding because it solidifies the sinking of the TREF Titanic, an embarrassing performance of the fund and him as its sole manager. Despite our collective hopes and efforts, the fund's financial situation has deteriorated to a point where liquidation is the only viable option. As the lead investor with $40,000 at stake and a fellow real estate developer, I've been closely monitoring the situation and conducting extensive research into the fund's operations, which can all be found at www.tulsarealestatefraud.com. That's tulsarealestatefraud.com. Over the past year, I've made numerous attempts to communicate privately with Jay Morrison, the fund's manager, to address concerns and seek clarity on the fund's status long before it got to this point. However, my requests for meetings were repeatedly ignored, leaving me with no choice but to share my findings publicly to ensure that all 15,000 investors worldwide are informed about the actions of the fund's management. Based on the limited information available from the fund's outdated SEC filings and a recent investor call on April 2nd, 2024, it has become apparent that Jay Morrison is proceeding with the liquidation of the fund. The decision is a direct result of the fund's near bankruptcy status, driven by mismanagement, excessive operating costs, and questionable investment practices. At his last State of the Union address on August 11, 2023, the fund only had $575,531 in cash, which has likely been depleted by now. The Legacy Center, aka the Black House, which was owned in cash for a better part of the 6 years, was refinanced, which allowed Jay Morrison to extract another $1.5 million from the fund to cover significant operating losses and his sizable management fee. As investors, we must confront the harsh reality of this situation. The probability of recovering our investment capital is exceedingly low, and the fund's remaining assets are insufficient to cover its liabilities. The most egregious violation appears to be the purchase of Jay Morrison's personal residence using the fund's money through an anonymous LLC, as well as a one-sided agreement for the adjacent 27 acres of land which he will personally own and retain for his family when the fund shuts down and cannot act on the fund's right to develop on that land. While the TREF subscription agreement granted Jay Morrison significant control over the fund's operations, it doesn't absolve him of his fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the investors. The evidence we have compiled strongly suggests that he has violated this duty through self-dealing, misappropriation of funds, and gross negligence. To address these issues, we have filed numerous complaints, hundreds of complaints, with the SEC, or Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. However, the lack...
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Right, so as you see, and this is not Jay Morrison right here. This was the top investor who invested over, I believe he said $40,000 into the fund. So he was the number one investor, right, who invested the most money. And, people are pissed off. People are upset because the dude, Jay Morrison, basically he took all of their money. Now, just give you a little background on Jay Morrison. This guy is a 3-time felon. This dude is a high school dropout. And he admittedly, on social media, admitted to selling crack to his father, right? He was a drug dealer, right? Now, can people change? Yes, people can change, right? But if they ain't changed in the name of and converted over to, worshiping the true name of the Heavenly Father, right? And dedicating their life to Yahweh Bash and Yahweh Shah, a lot of people are still, me personally, I wouldn't trust it. But, anybody who is, worshiping and serving Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, probably wouldn't be dedicating a lot of their time to creating a real estate fund either. Unless that's something that you were already doing at the time and you're able to handle the ministry work and that. But this dude, Jay Morrison, is a crook. And he clearly is still a crook. He's just doing it legally now. He's just doing things in a legal way. Now, again, what he did technically was not illegal, but it was unethical. It was technically not illegal, but it was unethical, right? Which is why, he's not necessarily able, he hasn't been arrested or anything like that yet. But here's the thing though with Jake, right? It only takes a strong message from somebody who is persuasive, has some type of charisma, you know what I'm saying, can talk and get you engaged in. And because if you haven't seen this dude, you and you do a little research, if the videos are still out there, he was doing these corner classes. I even went to one of them. And, I saw him in person, but the nigga was kind of funny acting. Like that was kind of skeptical for me when I saw him in person. But when he got done with the classes or whatever, he just dipped out. He kind of just dipped out. He didn't speak to anybody. He didn't greet nobody. He just dipped the fuck out and was gone, right? But, he came with a strong message, a persuasive message, and that's all these Israelites need, so-called black people need, and even the Northern Kingdom, right? Because there was a similar situation, with DJ Envy that happened with the Northern Kingdom, right? So it ain't just Judah, it ain't just the Southern Kingdom, it's the Northern Kingdom as well, because we're all the tribes, we're all a part of the nation of Israel, and we're all under these curses in Deuteronomy 28, right? But that's all it takes for Jake. As Elder Apostle Tahar always says, Jake will, when Jake buys a new car, Jake will just look at the outside and the aesthetics of the car and be like, yeah, that's the one I want. Instead of looking under the hood, looking at the Carfax, looking to see, is the car running properly, bringing a mechanic with you, going into the car, seeing what's really up with it, right? Jake does the same thing when it comes to money, when it comes to decisions, right? That's why I'm going to go here to Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. And it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. Thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children, right? Now, the knowledge that Jake lacks is the knowledge of the scriptures, the knowledge of the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? But at the same time, that knowledge also carries across particular life decisions that Jake makes. And this was one of those decisions that Jake just didn't care to be knowledgeable about. They didn't care. And this dude was open with it. They didn't care that he never, before he started the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, Jake did not care that this dude was in Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Why? Because nobody ever looked into that. They didn't care that this dude, prior to him starting this fund, that this dude had never done any successful real estate business at all. And this dude had only sold like one property in his life, right? But even though he portrayed to be a quote unquote real estate millionaire, nobody ever did the research until after people started to see like, oh, okay, this nigga kind of phony, because the fund wasn't performing. Everybody started to see that this nigga was kind of phony. And then that's when people started to look into his background and they saw that this dude, he wasn't really who he said he was. But by then it was too late. He raised $15 million. He got your money already. And now you will see, if you look him up, if you see he's starting to transition into that Christian pastor thing, which, is perfect for him. For him, if that's what he wants to do, it's perfect for him, because, these Christians, especially these black Christians, man, they just like, all you got to do is just sell them a dream, sell them hope, and not to say that we don't have hope, but we're not asking for money. It's not to say that here in this ministry, we're not preaching hope, but we're preaching hope for something way greater than a better so-called black community. We're preaching hope to make it into the kingdom of heaven, right? And we ain't asking for your money. So that's a major difference between us and this nigga, right? But let me get some more scriptures here. Let me get this. This is the book of Jeremiah 4 and verse 22. It says, for my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children. Sottish meaning stupid. and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge, right? Here it is, once again, instead of turning to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, hearkening unto the prophets, the words that the prophets are speaking, which is according to the word of the Holy Scriptures, Jake wants to put their money and their time and their investment into trying to build a better so-called black community, trying to build a better so-called Hispanic community, right? Instead of putting their investment into Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, putting their investment into the kingdom of heaven, right? As the scriptures say, store up treasure in heaven, right? We store our treasure in heaven. We store our treasure in the spirit, right? Because that's what's going to matter. That's what's going to count. That's what's going to get you into the kingdom of heaven, right? Not putting your money into a real estate fund, man. Because all of this stuff is going to get blown up, destroyed, and decimated in the long run anyway. And hell, not even in the long run, in the short run, right? Very soon, all of this shit is going to be gone, right? Put to, this America ain't going to be here no more. You ain't going to have no America to invest in real estate into, man. And it says, they are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. Here it is. Now, this guy, all he had to really do, this dude, Jay Morrison, all he had to really do was just learn how to properly buy real estate, get the right connections, network with the right people, and he actually could have had a successful fund. Now, that takes some work. Anything that's worth having does take work, right? But hell, scamming 15,000 people and getting them to take their money, shit, that took a lot of work too. That same energy and effort that you put into doing evil, you could have put that into doing good. But that's the same with Jake here in the world. Instead of Jake putting all their effort and time into doing evil, into doing wickedness, into being into all of these other doctrines and philosophies that are not according to the scriptures, they could also do the same thing to and putting it into the scriptures, right? If Jake followed the law, statutes, and commandments, automatically we will have a better community. We would automatically have a better community, right? We wouldn't need a Tulsa real estate fund because by nature of the law, statutes, and commandments, one of them is being love thy brethren as you love yourself. Love thy brother as you love yourself, right? We would be doing business successfully with our own people. But that's not a part. That's contrary to the curses, right? It's Deuteronomy 28 and verse 54. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, right? So you got dudes like this dude, Jay Morrison, whose eye is evil towards his brethren, and, the women and the children, right? Because not only did he scam men, there were a lot of women that invested, but these people probably have families. They have responsibilities. They got things that they got to do, things that they got to take care of. And he's taking money from them because he sold them a dream that, hey, if you invest in this fund, we going to build up Black Wall Street again. We going to build up Black Wall Street if you invest in my fund. But that's just simply not what happened, man. That's just not what happened. Let me go here, 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, this know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, hot-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than lovers of the Heavenly Father, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away, right? So this dude, Jay Morrison, he's a traitor. He's without natural affection, a truce breaker, you know, high-minded, a lover of pleasure, than a lover of the Heavenly Father. You know, that's what this dude is. Think about how evil and wicked you have to be to raise $15 million from regular, average, poor Jake families, or Jakes who had hope for something better, putting their money into this fund, and you just made empty promises and squandered it, man. Think about how evil and wicked you got to be. You know what I'm saying? That's just what this dude is. This dude is super evil, super wicked. And the scriptures told us about men like this, right? Let's go to Sirach 26 and 29, and I'm going to close out with that. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 29. It says, a merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and an huckster shall not be free from sin, right? And a huckster is basically somebody who's trying to get money out of you. Somebody who's trying to swindle you out of money, right? By selling you dreams, selling you lies. And that's just exactly what this dude did. He sold his people dreams, lies, you know what I'm saying, with the wrong, and he had no intentions on following through with any of the things that he said. And it's coming out now. And now that he has to liquidate this fund, you know, people are really pissed off because the fund doesn't even have the assets to cover the amount of money that he raised in order to give back to the people, right? But, you know, that's a part of the curses, man. This is a part of the curses that we're under here as a community. You know what I'm saying? So, look, with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Chakodash. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying and straight to the point. Giving all praises to, or Salakia did that. Until next time.